Hello, everybody, and welcome. I hope everybody's had a fabulous weekend and a fabulous transformational Tuesday so far. And today we are going to talk about money energetics and the concept of money and our relationship about money and how we can literally rewrite our story about money because money is a frequency, it's an energy, and just, spruce up our perspectives about it. And with that, I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host, Judith Hope. Welcome.
Thank you,
Judith.
Raven. Thank you. Thank you so much, Raven. I appreciate the introduction. And I'm super excited to talk about money today because I feel like with money, there is so much to talk about. And I feel like money is totally like an energy, right? And I think that's why we decided to talk about, to name the title of this, money energetics, right? And I think we all have certain relationships to this energy, to this money, right? And for a lot of us, those are the reason we have certain relationships to money is because our soul wanted to learn lessons regarding money, right? Wanted to have certain experiences regarding money in this lifetime. And so because of that, we when we're going through and we're figuring out what life we want to have, what we want to do, what we want to look like, what we want to act like, what we want to live, where we want to live, what kind of family we want to be in. We're taking into account so many different situations when our soul is incarnating. And one of those things too that will impact that is our relationship to money. And so when we come in, if there's certain lessons we want to learn about money, we have to decide, okay, like in this family, I can learn this, lesson about money because it'll give me the opportunity, to learn these lessons because of my parents or the culture, the upbringing, things like that. And so we come in, we make those decisions, we write those into our Akashic records, and then we also write those into our star chart and our natal chart, right? So it's all kind of pre-written, and then we come in with, a relationship to money kind of predefined for us. And I guess one thing I need to mention too is that we're making those decisions a lot of times because we're trying to heal from past lifetimes or learn lessons that we didn't learn in past lifetimes as well. And so I think that's a big part of it. And so everyone's journey with money can be different, right? Because we all have different things we're trying to learn in this lifetime in regards to money. But the thing that's the same for everyone is that money is an energy and we can all learn to work with it. And we can all learn, how we want to improve our relationship with money. So I think that's a pretty good way kind of just to start out talking about money today. But Raven, any other initial thoughts you have regarding like money and money as energy?
Right. Okay. Well, I always say this. I've been saying this now more than ever, even for my own self, right? Because money is a frequency. It's pretend monopoly money, but we have to have it here in this earthly realm to survive. We really do have to. I mean, that's reality in the earthly realm, right? So, and not to mention, it already is. This is the manifestation part of it, okay? And where the concept of this law of attraction things, that's such old programming and things. And the reason why I say this on my lives over at TikTok all the time. So the reason why I say this is because the spiritual realm is right here. It's right here. And in your thoughts, we are that powerful with our thoughts, right? So whatever you want to manifest, your car, your home, those type of things, you already have those things. When you change your concept and your perspective of those things, you're going to bring that into the physical. You already have those things. You already have those. It's your birthright. You're free. We are free will. We're sovereign here, and it's our birthright. And when we change our frequency about lack of scarcity, or feel that we're not worthy, or even if we have enough and think, oh my goodness, I shouldn't spend this on me, or I need to save it. Okay. But even when we save it, okay, and that's a great thing to do so. But even when we do, you're even blocking the flow of it. You're even blocking of the giving and the receiving, and you're blocking that because it's a concept. It is energy. It comes, it goes, it receives, it flows. That's what they keep saying. And I've been working with it, and it's been working for me as well. Like literally, like, okay, like I said, we're gonna rewrite the whole story about it. Like me and Judith has this workshop, money workshop, and the mindset and the energy work. There's so much energy work to do and the framework to do with it, meditation to do with it, your budget and your financial planning and keeping track of it, how you can, to help you how to increase your income streams, because Raven has been doing the same thing and so has Judith. We've been walking it, we've been talking it, and we've been breathing it and literally manifesting into our reality as well. So, therefore, we can resonate. And we're even like working on this, changing our money energetics and how it's working with our frequency. And it is about learning how to process it because it's a new frequency. It's a new frequency. It's a new way. I'm channeling right now. It's a new way to just literally change your perspective, write you those post-it notes and say, hey, I am worthy. There is no lack. I am receiving, big daddy universe out there. It's time to collect, right? We are the frequency. And it's like you are that money tree. Just shake it. Shake it like you just don't care because nobody really even is paying attention. So not doing something or holding yourselves back and thinking, oh my goodness, there's so many things you can do. Just type out a prompt in chat GPT. There's thousands of things you can do on the side for a side hustle to bring you in some extra dough, right? Me, especially for, how the world is going. It's always changing. It's always evolving and it's just going to be that way. So we need to be more working smarter, not harder, because that's another misconception as well. What do you think, Judith?
Yeah, I loved everything you said, and I really resonate with you talking about something that it's a necessity in the 3D, right? Because it really is, and it determines so much. And to me, money feels like it can feel a little unseen, right? Like it's almost like an invisible force that's there because we don't actually use cash or coins very much anymore. Like we use them a little bit, but mainly we're paying with like something on our phone or we're paying with a card. And it's interesting because like we're not touching money physically, anymore, even though we're still in the third dimensional. It's like becoming this thing that we don't see, but it means so much. And like money, it's like you have to have it. It has to be there to support you. And you see it often in other ways than the physical, in terms of physically seeing it. But then you also do see it in the physical, right? Because it is the clothes that you wear. It's the car you drive, the house you live in. It's your ability to buy the food you buy, or what food you buy, or what restaurants you go to, right? So you see money in the physical through other things, right? And so for me, it's weird because I have worked with money a lot in my career. So I'm a CPA and I worked in the corporate world for 10 years. And so I was an auditor primarily. And so I would go through and I would audit stuff. And it's just like, at some point, like I'm working at big corporations. So I'm auditing like millions of dollars, right? And so it's like, it's just these numbers. It's just these numbers. And it's like you break them down and you do all these calculations and they're Excel and you're backing into numbers and stuff. And so it just in a lot of ways, like it's like running in the background and it's affecting us, but it doesn't always feel tangible. And it has an effect on a lot of things, right? And I think for a lot of people, it has an effect on their self-worth. And so, like, for example, for me, like a big part of my identity because of some of my placements in my 10th house is like my career, right? And like how I define myself, right? And so for me, like being successful in career, that also comes with like making a lot of money, right? Is because that's how you find success and that's how you value yourself a lot of the times. And so like for me, sometimes I'm like, okay, like if I have a job that will like pay this much money, I'm more valuable or I'm more successful, or that's how rate myself and my success is how much, money that I earn, right? And so I feel like, for a lot of people too, you can sometimes there can be like a self-confidence, right? Like, oh, I don't have that much money or I don't earn that money because, there's different ways to get money too. Like sometimes we earn it. Sometimes we inherit money, right? We can get money other ways. We can have a partner, a spouse who makes more money, right? So it's like money can be reflections of different things. but a lot of time like that can really affect your value and how you look at yourself, right? And
Mhm.
so I think it's interesting because of that, a lot of times people will also use it as their, not only internal perception of their self, but they try to shape their external perception of their self using money, as well, right? And so people will like kind of put on a show about having money, whether that's like buying expensive things and like being like, oh, look at my new car, like buying expensive clothes and wearing clothes, right? Or going to all the expensive like restaurants or spending a lot of money or like when you're out with friends like paying for other people's stuff, and so a lot of times like money is used to show a perception, right? So it's like it's kind of like money has its own frequency but then also like emits kind of like a second frequency like around that frequency, kind of like, okay, here's my perception of what I'm giving off of who I am and my importance in the world, kind of based off of what I have, right? And so I think for a lot of folks, like, and it's interesting because I think traditionally, right, like this was something really for like heterosexual men, like their value was placed off like how much money they made, right? Because if they were going to be a cash and they were going to be important, like making a lot of money was important. And for like women, they were like trained, women were trained to find, men who make a lot of money, right? And so it's kind of like a status symbol. It's like, are you going to be like a good eligible like partner if you make money, right? Like this is how you show your value to the world too. And I think, it's been that way for so, so long. But really, like money is an energy. It's an energy and it shouldn't base you on your value and what you are and how much you earn, right? But instead, you learn how to work with money, right? You learn how to work with money to achieve and to let it flow and to do the things you want to do in life and have the experiences and learn the lessons. Because ultimately, like, that's what having money does, right? Because if you keep it all and you never save it, or excuse me, you never spend it, you just save it, then it's like you're just sitting on a pile of money, but your life isn't really any better. So I don't know. What do you think about all that, Raven?
Right, because when they're saving that they feel that they're going to do something. It's like a possession to them. That's where, right? That's what that came up to. Because I've witnessed it, I've
Mhm.
seen it. Right. Also, too, I've also witnessed and seen where they can have all the money in the whole world that they don't have to want for nothing, right? But they're still not happy. There's still something that's missing that's not making them whole. It's not making, or they already are whole. Okay. But to them and their perception, it's like, look, I have all this, but what is it doing for me? I'm not happy. So it's like, okay, well, they're out of touch with their creative side. They're out of touch with their heart, with being one with spirit at that moment, right? They've really lost what really does, because it's numbed them. That frequency that they've been into for so long, with that frequency of I just need to work. I got to have this money, right? Where you need to play, and that just brings it in more. I'm just saying, it just frees up the frequency to bring it into the flow for more, to play with it, to invest in it, to spend it, to share it, to invest in it. Just like I said, with the long-term investments, and just align your financial goals. That's just that's the utmost importance, really. And to teach your children that as well, because we're not getting taught, just like you said. I mean, now look at the concept of it. You're right. We're not even touching it no more. It's so electronic, right? It's either they're scanning our hand, or we're scanning our face, or a thumbprint, or fingerprint, or it's plastic, a piece of card. It's just a plastic, a chip. So yeah, it's really changed, very, very much so. So, but the concept of money is still stuck in that old programming for so many.
Yeah, and I think if you can heal your money wounds, right? If you can heal your
Yeah.
money wounds, then you can kind of play with money. I think a lot of people have a hard time with that. And there's the other side of like playing with money, which can turn into like gambling and things like that. But And so that would be kind of like the other extreme. But if you can have kind of a healthy relationship with the flow of money, like it's like figuring out like, what do I want to use my money for? Right? Like, what do I want to invest it in? Like, do I want to invest it in myself? And do I want to go and like learn a new skill and to do something in, with my life or with my purpose, right? Or do I want to invest it in a business, right? Or do I want to play in the stock market and like see if I can figure out which stocks will do well, or which investments, like you said,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of there's a lot of risk with this kind of stuff. And so if you're closed off about money and you're scared to lose money and you're kind of that like money scarcity mindset, you're not going to put yourself out there to invest the money and to do the things that are going to make you achieve more in this lifetime or send you on your purpose, right? Because sometimes when you get to money scarcity, you just like want to hold on to it. You want to hold on to it. And if you're not putting any money out there, no money is going to come back, right? Because money is energy and flow. And I think it's important to note that money is actually neutral. Like it's not good or bad. It's like the person's relationship to money and then all the frequencies attached to money. Like greed can be attached to money, right? Fear can be attached to money. Like you can earn money in unethical ways or darker ways, and then that darkness is attached to money, right? But money itself is neutral, and it's energy. And so if you think of it as neutral, and I think to get to that place, you have to feel very secure in your relationship with money. And you have to and a lot of times you also have to feel secure that you have enough money. And so for a lot of people that may be like, oh, I have a bunch of money in my bank account, I've built this up. And so now I do have money to go play with and see if I want to invest in this, or even like gifting it to someone who has a really great business idea, but they don't have money, So for a lot of folks, like it would take having that physical money. But it's also like you said, Raven, there's a version of you that already has a lot of money, right? Or already has enough money, or already
Mhm.
has a very successful career and is receiving money, right? And all of those versions are existing at the exact same time, right? We can't see that because we're a dot in the timeline, right? In the 3D dense physical world. But if we were to come out of that, we would be able to see the version of ourselves and know we're just like a hair and a flick away from becoming that version of ourselves, right? And so I feel like once you have healed those wounds and you have that security, that's when playing around with money can be fun. Like for example, like my experience of like being an auditor and going in and looking at like plugging numbers and like playing around with numbers and trying to see how they fit and how you can do different things. It can actually be like a positive, enjoyable experience with money if you can get to that place. But for a lot of folks, it's really hard to get to that place, and for a good reason, because money can be a tough subject, right? It can be something that it is your livelihood. If you don't have money, then it's like you don't, you have to have a place to live, you have to have food, water, like you have to have money for medical treatment, right? And so if you don't have it, like it really can be a true inhibitor, right? Of like living a life and living your life and doing the things you want to do. But once you repair that relationship to money, then it actually opens up a lot of avenues for you.
Gosh, that's an understatement. Because when this is how it is, and especially I just know for me from experience too, when I have really like merged in my spiritual mission, right? My spiritual journey in with the concept of money, and having also too the generational um lineage on both sides, right? In the concept of money on my mother's and my father's. Like my father's he's an Aries, so he's very old school, really strict, right? And it's like this, Mihal, do you want it or do you need it? Like those type of things, right? My grandmother was kind of same way in a way, but also too, she would splurge, like, to splurge or to do that because you work hard for it. By the end of the week, it's like, hey, man, take yourself and buy you something, but we don't need to get but that can go into shopping addictions and things. There's so many things and concepts like Judith has brought up and even said, like money is neutral, but it's just the energy and the thought, and some can do and want to earn it and make it in nefarious ways. It's not so, and can get you in a lot of trouble and things being here in this earthly realm and the laws and such, right? So yes, but also too, I also know if you're not investing in yourself, if you're not investing, you're not investing in, you need to invest in yourself, right? Because you're building up equity within your own. That's your own equity that you're even building up for your own self. Don't you think, Judith?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Cause it's like you have to invest something in you, and if you're not investing anything financially in you, then how can you expect for anything to come back financially to you? Right. And I think it's interesting with the universe is like you always have to trust that you're going to be financially taken care of because I have seen so many stories of people who were almost out of money, right? And they were about to hit that bottom line. And like, it's just, there's no way there's not going to be any money coming in, right? And then money will come in for them in crazy ways, right? So the universe is always going to support you, your personal spirit team, your higher self, and make sure you have what you need. And I think it's interesting. For me, I remember when I was in college, I have the like the anxious attachment to my bank account. So I get anxious about like looking at my bank account. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize, but I read that like whatever your dating attachment style is, like you also generally will have that same relationship like to your bank account, right? So like if I'm like dating someone, I'll get anxious about like, oh, did they message me? Or like what did they say, so I also have that kind of anxious attachment to like my bank account, right? So sometimes I'll check it, like probably more frequently than I need to, and I'll have a fear that something's like happened in my bank account. And I think some of this is probably related to like my OCD, which I've been like working on quite a bit. But your relationship to like your money is reflective of so many other things and so many other parts of yourself, right? Too. So it's like your relationship to money, like is it always going to be there? Is it gone? It's like that might cause you to check your bank account over and over again, right? And I think it's interesting too because we're all supposed to learn these lessons in relation to money in our lifetime. And like I think for me, like spending was a big part of that, right? And so it's like learning, not getting caught up in the collective want and need to buy, right? Because like we're definitely living in a culture, capitalism, that wants us to buy the newest, the hottest every day, right? It's like it doesn't matter if I have this tank top that's pink. I don't, I'm next year in 6 months from now, it's like I need a new pink tank top because it's, slightly cut differently here or a different type of material or it's a different shade of pink because it's
Right.
the new pink. And so it's like there's this capitalism, but also it kind of feels this like collective like need to spend, right? And so we're all thinking like, oh, we have to have the newest, or it's like it's the system we get placed into, the collective around us, all these pressures and stuff and things we need to do that are also affecting our relationship to money as well. And so I feel like a big part of this too, when you're healing your relationship to money, is kind of tuning out of the collective and tuning into you and understanding what are the things that are important for me to spend money on and then the things I don't care about spending money on. So that was a big piece of like my financial journey, was kind of understanding like, okay, like what are the things that I actually want to make sure I get like the nice version of, or I spend to get the quality version of, or the things that matter to me. And then what are the things that I don't care about? And then I don't care about if I'm going to, have these things and I can kind of cut costs there. Cause like, so for me, I'm the millennial and it's always like getting a coffee every day is so overpriced and it's so expensive. Like that would be the traditional way of looking at it. But I actually love going to buy a coffee every day. Like I love iced coffee. I like to get it in my drink. Like I have mine from like Seven Brew right now. I'm almost done with it.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of people would say, "Oh, like that's irresponsible spending. You can get coffee in your house for so much cheaper." And like I've definitely been at points in my life where like I did that. But like for me, it's like getting out of the house, going to the coffee shop, like the act of buying it, the act of being in the
Mhm.
community, talking to the people there, like it makes me
Mhm.
feel like fulfilled. And so I feel like it's not something I'm like gonna beat myself up about, right?
Yeah.
Now if you can't pay your rent and you're doing that, that's different, right? But it's like you can budget for those things you care about, and then you can reduce your costs elsewhere. And so I think it's a very like logical 3D practical thing to do. But I think for so many of us, when we have this collective energy around us, sometimes we have to block it out. We have to just kind of look and say, like, hey, like, what actually matters to me, right? And then we have to kind of lay that out and put guidelines and put systems and processes in place for us. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But like me talking about my avoidance tendency earlier, when I was younger, like I just wanted to avoid doing that. I just didn't want to look at my bank account and all the money I was spending. And like now it's like I look at it all the time and I'm like, okay, like I spent too much here. Or, I'm like, oh, I haven't spent that much, right? It's like not being afraid to look, right? Not being afraid to look at
Yeah,
what you've spent and things like that.
that part. Right, it's the budget. The thing of it is, okay, the thing of it is for me, this is how I could say for me. I had to learn this at a very, very young age with because my great grandmother raised me. And she was so good with mathematics and things like that. But she just literally, and I was a teenage mother. So therefore, me, I had to like, hello, I had a baby at 15 years old and my second one at 16, my third one at 19, getting married, doing these things, having these children. But she was just so adamant about it. And that was something that she instilled in me. And I'm so grateful for it. So grateful for it because it taught my children to have the same things like my checking account. Like this is how much you have. This is how much you bring home. You need to do this before taxes, like all these things. Like she really instilled that in me. So with those things and those concepts like that and budgeting and things like that. Yes. So I'd always like, okay, well, and made sure that, we had food on the table and the bills were paid first and then we can, things and it just budgeted out that way. But for me not to be able to do those things and like that, yeah, if I wouldn't have had that foundation, I was just very grateful and very blessed that, she was Sagittarius and fire. And I'm a Sagittarius in the fourth house. So, and it was about me being secure and my security. And I'm a Taurus moon and I'm very practical and a Virgo rising. So therefore, I needed to have those things and have that structure and foundation for me, but also too for my family and for my children, for their family now, like, and they're raising their own families and, yeah, and teaching them. Because now
Yeah.
my two oldest grandchildren are teenagers right now. So that's really hard for me to believe, but it's
Can y'all
true.
believe that Raven is a grandmother? It's crazy for me to believe because she doesn't have that. She has like such a young energy. You really do, Raven. You have such a young energy. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, she's someone's grandmother. But then you're also very sweet too. So and like
Thank
kind of have like
you.
a motherless. I'm like, okay, I guess I can believe it.
Yeah, right. I can't believe it. I have to pinch myself because it's just like, oh my children were just yesterday. And they're
Oh,
literally, I have two Aries coming up here just in what is today? The 18th? Yes, the 28th and the 29th. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And yeah, that'll be my oldest and only daughter. And then my middle son. They're literally 4 years to the day apart. It's crazy. But yes, in their 30s. Yeah. So
that's
yes.
insane. But
Right?
yeah. I feel like it's interesting. So, you came into a home, right? That like
Mhm.
you were just kind of given those foundations. And in your case, like it sounds like a lot of those foundations were good, right? They were productive things. And unfortunately, some people, fortunately or unfortunately, in the 3D world, it's unfortunate. But then in higher dimensions in the soul learning, it's fortunate. Like they come into situations where they have to learn those things on their own through lessons, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes that it's all kinds of situations and circumstances that you can get into, right? So it sounds like for you, like some of your like maybe you didn't need to learn some of those lessons regarding money in this lifetime in this incarnation, and so you kind of chose a family where you're like, I'm going to be taught these things, I'm going to know these things, and I'm going to be able to execute them, right? And so
Mhm.
your other incarnations, when they need to go to a part of their soul, right? Your soul's other incarnations that knows those things, they can go to Raven and they can be like, Raven, let me call upon you. You can help me figure out this stuff with money. Maybe the incarnations of your soul that didn't have a grandmother to teach you that kind of stuff, you know? So it's weird to think about, but
It is weird to think about it because I thought about that. That you brought that up because I have thought about it. I'm like, well, I know I didn't do this in my time before this one. I just know I just didn't, because when you have that life review, see, you got my chills. So when you have that life review, I'm like, whoa, hold a second. I need to learn about family. So, Raven came back as a Cancer sun. But yes, that's why I needed to know, get in touch with my emotions, right? Get in touch with my emotional self and learn about family and the security and family, because that's so important to a Cancer and the mother of the zodiac. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I think that's important to note because so like for me, I have had so where I live now, I currently am staying with my parents until I move
Hmm.
out again and get my own place.
Hmm.
But my parents live in this house that's like larger than the house that I grew up in. And so when I was in a senior in high school, they built this house that was a bigger house, and we had been living in a smaller house. Now we always had enough space and all of that. Very, good upbringing, had plenty, all that kind of stuff. But when we moved into this larger house, it felt like an upgrade, right? It felt like a big upgrade, and okay, we're moving into this bigger house. Things are nicer now, all that kind of stuff. And I have reoccurring dreams. I've had this dream like over and over again where something happens with my family and we have to move out of this nicer house and back into the small house. And it's weird because in the dream, like my family always still owned the smaller house. And here in the physical, the house that we used to live in is weird. It's across the street from where we live now. So my parents built a house across the street from where they used to live. And it's kind of catty corner. So it's not like we see the people who own, like our old house all the time. But it's weird because like maybe like 10-ish years or so, my parents still own that home and they rented it out to like renters. And so during this time, I kept having this dream that something happened with my parents' financial situation. And even though I had graduated, I was living on my own, I was working and all that kind of stuff. I in the dream, me and my family and my siblings, like we all had to move out of the bigger house and back into the small house because there was some kind of like financial catastrophe or something happened. And I would go back into my old room and I would go through this old room and there were like secret doors, and I would like go back into this like secret room in this house, and like I'd be finding things I left and like just getting all this information and stuff. So that part of it was really cool, right? Finding the secret
Hmm.
room and going and doing all that. But it's interesting because I had this dream enough times, and the more I awakened, I was like, this is not just a dream that's like a logical psychological thing, because we do have those dreams.
Hmm.
It's just like our brain
Yeah.
processing and removing the information. I was like, this is a past life. Like, this is something that happened to me, and I'm going back there, right? And so when I was in some of my psychic development classes, when I was, learning to hone my skills and things like that, kind of towards the beginning of my awakening, I had another reader tell me that I had like basically a soul contract in this incarnation to learn how to manage money. And I've deciphered from that is immediately when I was being told that, I kept going back to this dream where I was in this family that something happened. They couldn't manage their money well and they kind of lost it all, and they had to move out of their bigger house back into their smaller house. And because of that, like that is why I'm coming into this lifetime and having to learn how to manage money. And so I've had to do a lot of work with like not overspending, right? Like I was kind of talking about earlier, like figuring out the things I want, like the things that I value, and not just spending money just to spend or because I can, or like the money's there, what have you. And so I think it's interesting because this incarnation is like not necessarily like mirroring the incarnation, but there's things about it that are similar that it feels relevant to this incarnation. And so it's interesting because a lot of this stuff, this our relationship to money, is very so much planned by our soul to learn what we need to learn in this lifetime. And I think another thing I've kind of thought about, and I'd be curious about this too, what you think, Raven, is that I feel like a lot of people really want to be like rich and they want to have a lot of money and like a lot of like prestige and fame and like wealth. And like for me, I've always been, I think when I was younger, I was like that because I was like, oh, money and all this stuff. And I feel like teenagers and kids tend to be like that. But, like, the older I've gotten, I'm kinda like, "How much wealth do I actually want?" Because at some point, it's like, "Is this enough money? How much money I have now? Like, am I happy now? Like, do I feel abundant? Like, do I really need a higher level of income or level of money?" And there have been times and points in my life where I'm like, If I made this much money, I would never need to earn more the rest of my life." And it's like, I'm okay with it. I don't need to be super, super wealthy, but I feel like there's a societal pressure to be super, super wealthy or that it's better, and I don't necessarily think
Mhm.
that it is. So, I don't know, have you had those moments in your life, Raven, where you're like, "What I have now is just fine, and I don't need more," you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because when you've had more or had less, I've been in between and then some, right? Into so many stages, like I said, right? That was in my younger ones, and I was just like a stickler for that stuff. I was very tough love. I was I still am, but it's a little different. It's a little different now because I've acquired different thinking, different and things like that. But yes, absolutely. I think there's so much of a pressure out there in the external world. Like I just feel it and I know it, especially for teenagers, even more now, more than ever. The car, the clothes, the money, the house, or phones are upgrading what every freaking few weeks or whatever. It's like the new upgrades. It's got to be this, it's got to be that. So and so has this, so and so has that. They have the 2.3 car garage or whatever it is. Okay. I really think it's a lot of pressure, but I also know that when others have built up to that, whatever, they still feel so empty. They still feel like a shell. Like, okay, I have the car, I have the money, I have the home or two homes or whatever, these cars or all these things. But how come I don't have my person? See those things too. Like it all ties into that. And what ties into that because they're collecting and trying to numb themselves out with material material things. And they're really not doing that internal work and have that concept of you know, how does this make me feel? Like you're checking in with yourself and asking yourself, say, how does this make me feel if I have such and such this amount? Or how does it, you know what? I do the same thing because I've been where you don't know where you're going to go to your next place or whatever. Things happen, life be happening, right? You just don't know. So it's like, okay, well, I have to cut back on this because I have to survive. I have to have a roof over my head. I have to have water, you know, basic necessities to get by to survive, right? So those things become very important where all them other things just don't because it's like, okay, am I really going to use it? Not how long am I really going to use it? And also too the quality of things because so many things like you had said earlier about the quality. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's better to spend just a little bit more for the quality because so many things nowadays and the prices that they're asking for things, it's not of quality.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's a big thing is, like, the shifts in our society too, because I feel like, it's bad when we were younger, but I feel like when each generation, like, the more you're on technology, because like, when I was,
Mhm.
like, in middle school, that was before social media. I think, like, MySpace became when I was in high school, like,
Yeah.
became a thing, and then Facebook was, like, my last year maybe? In high school is when it came out and it was so new and stuff, but now social media is like everywhere, right? And so people are seeing all these brands and these things, and it's like even like TikTok is like big on selling stuff that you see in the TikTok shop, right? And so it's like this
Mhm.
stuff is like constantly in your face, right? And it's like you're constantly seeing other people with things. And I was talking to someone the other day, who said that someone they knew went and, like, worked a job one summer maybe, and, I guess they had gotten paid and they like got it all out in cash and they had like a big wad of money and they're just like taking some picture with like their wad of money and putting it on whatever social media it was on and kind of like bragging about how much money they have or trying to show off and say I have so much money, and so it's like that kind of stuff is like, and it's always been there because you always have like the neighbors with more money or people with more money. And like we've always had karmic contracts with money in relationship to money. And
Oh,
like, so-
absolutely.
and like sometimes that's even between like people. Like, so another example I know is that these are like a friend's friends, but there's these two couples that are friends, two heterosexual couples, and one of them is, like, extremely wealthy where, like, I think it was the guy's family who was so wealthy, he never had to work
Mhm,
really
mhm,
in, like,
mhm,
his early 30s maybe, and then, like, his wife, I guess, once she got married to him, didn't have to work because these people just had wealth from whatever business in the
mhm.
family, but they wanted to have a child and they were unable to because of like infertility issues and things like that. And that, assuming they had much money, like they had access to be able to get different fertility treatments and things like that. But then they
Mhm.
were best friends with another couple that struggled with money, right? Like both people in the couple, like they work and they both like have salaries, but like sometimes they get laid off or like they're not super high, like they don't have not like doctors or finance people who make a ton of money. But then they like had a child easily and they were like friends where it's like, some people had money, but there were other things that they couldn't have. But then those other people had them, but then they didn't have money. So, I would observe these people, the interactions like between them.
Right.
And it's just interesting because you could tell that it's like some type of karma was playing out, right, between all the different individuals there, in relation to, life, but also, like, the relationship to, like, money and what does it mean? What does it mean to happiness? What does it mean when you have something and other people don't, and that type of thing, so I think it's interesting, and I think that's another great example of when someone can have money, but money can't buy like, money cannot even the best fertility treatment if your body cannot do that, whether it's the woman's body who's, holding the baby or the father's body who's supplying, you know, for the baby, like if they can't scientifically, like if they can't help happen medically, then it's like all the money in the world, right? You still don't have that way that you want it. So it's definitely interesting how sometimes money just isn't enough in the physical world, even like Steve Jobs, right? Like he died,
Right.
right? But he had all the money, So
That's so true. That's so true, right? Oh my gosh, that was a great analogy to put him in there because it's true. Look what happened to him, literally. And literally oh wow, I got chills. He's here. So therefore, right, not to mention what he was even teaching his own children from away from technology too. What he was even didn't want his children to get involved in because he knew what technology, it can be used for nefarious things too as well. And with Pluto being in Aquarius for the next 20 years, and I've been stressing this even to my clients, but also to for my live audience too, because for what we set out for right now is literally our foundation for the next 20 years. It literally is, right? And like Pluto is our financial, it's our security, it's our transformation, rebirthing, our soul evolution, our sexuality, also too. And that root chakra, our root chakra is really what brings in, like, it's very, very vital to have our root chakra rooted and grounded, and just to have that inner understanding and that awareness of it. And some red carnelian can really help with that, literally, very much so. A lot of reds for passion, and green for money, and emeralds and jade. But also, too, sunstone for your sacral and your solar, and Sophia's barking. And then also too citrine too as well. Those are great. I mean, I've been using my citrine a lot. Just meditating with your citrine, or if you don't even have those, just invoking the energy of the crystals will even help with the properties as well. But it just really helps up. It opens up your sacral and your solar plexus, and it really brings in balance and harmony in those chakras. It has for me tremendously, that's for sure. Along with my selenite here that I'm always holding in my hand too. Right,
My
right.
channeling crystals, got to hold on to them to, anchor me to the higher
Exactly.
dimensions, but then this one holds me back onto earth. So,
That
um,
part. Same.
but okay, so Raven, have you ever had a wealth altar, or a money altar, or anything like that?
Oh, that is so awesome that you brought that up. Right. Because we're going to bring that up in our workshop. Ooh, you gave me chills. Absolutely, I do. Like you can have these checks, these bay leaves. Goddess Lakshmi is such a great, for abundance and prosperity. But your bay leaves, like a cinnamon, cinnamon sticks. That's a great thing to put on your altar it's for abundance, but it's also for protection. But cinnamon is so great. Like a cinnamon stick, um some money, essential oil will even work, but also too ancestor money. Like you give, you give your ancestors some ancestral money that you put on your altar. I've done that as well. Pictures of your ancestors too, and just write the amount that you the amount that you know that that you already have it. You write it like you already have, pay to the order of such and such, your name, blah, 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 whatever, and sign it, man, and endorse that sucker. And just,
Ooh.
and have that burn, like a burn ceremony and things like that. Like get the bay leaves. I also do this, the bay leaves with that. You write what, your wish on your bay leaves, the amount of the money on your bay leaves, on the back of it, and you literally call in Goddess Lakshmi, and just like, I'm a money magnet, money comes to me easily. I'm a magnet, money flows through me. Those things, as above and so below, as within and so without, right? And so it is. Like I just affirm it. Also, too, the post-it notes and things like that. I'm serious. Like I do the high five method from Mel Robbins and just say, who's going to high five you? A lot of people don't. So you just high five yourself and say, I got you. I got your back. I got you. I'm proud of you. High five. Let's get it. Those type of things. If you literally practice those things every night before you go to bed, here's another one. Every night before you go to bed, affirm to yourself that out there to the universe that I am on the time. I'm on the highest timeline at this time. Like you affirm that you are on the highest timeline for you at this time. When you do this every night before you go to bed, literally every day, your life will be starting to do that. You'll be seeing it. You'll be playing with it. You'll be working with it, the energy, and you'll just play with like, wow, I just made that happen. Yes, you literally made that happen.
Yes.
So that's how you do it with action. It's, you got to manifest it. Yes, absolutely. But you have to have actions and the seeds to plant them, right? You're planting
Yes.
those seeds. You got to uproot those freaking weeds. So it's all about, we got to weed out our garden, and the weeding out of our garden, how I say this, because the gnomes are really bringing it up. They're sitting here staring at me. So, right.
I saw a gnome on TikTok the other day. I don't know if it was a real gnome, but I saw it was like a secret
Wow.
footage camera, and there's like a little gnome on there, and I was like, that's cute. I would love to see like a little gnome walking around. But anyway, sorry to interrupt. I just gotta share
No, but it's like you are the goal, baby, right? Like in water. The reason why I'm saying, because here he is, like he's literally, holding his little water can right in front of my mushroom,
He's
quite
so
honestly,
cute.
and my sage bundle, right, and feathers. But it is
Aw.
like water your own garden, right? Water your own money tree. We are the tree of life, are we not? Right? And when you give life, when you give life and you're birthing something, like we are that birth. We are those new sprouts. You are that. Plant your new money tree and watch it just grow. You are
Yeah.
the abundance. And that's the thing. Even my clients, you are the abundance. You are the frequency, and you are the currency. And it's more with the ones that even are, like I've said, even the ones that are my mentees and things like that, they already there, right? They just want to balance that out and have more time with their family, way more than they do. And of course they want the money, but more importantly is how can they manage their time by making that and investing, but also having more time to spend with their family.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's and balancing that out. That's what I'm a lot right now for me and for them, quite honestly. And just, doing the work, doing the having it, just changing up a few things and having, see what they come up with their own framework and merging it a little bit together and then having those bi-weekly or once a month check-ins to see, what else. But yes, also, too, when you brought up, I don't want to forget this because I can't stress this enough. When you said the 10th house with your astrology chart, right? Because I do
Yeah.
work on that. That's a big thing, right? It's so vital to know where you, especially your Mercury. If you have Mercury there, I do, which is so awesome, right? That's just like, woo, it's so lucky to be there. And I'm just like, oh, thank you. But yes, it really is. It's where that 10 house, your 10th house is. It really is. But it's also to the 7th house, which is your Libra house, and your 8th house, which is your Scorpio, because it's shared resources and inheritance and things like you said. Like you could have even your money ties in with inheritance or your spouse or your life partner or any of those things. It's just how you invest wisely, because I've done that where I bottomed out. I went through bankruptcy when I was in my 20, 30s. There's you learn. There's just things that you got to go through that I've had to learn through the concepts of money too. So
Yeah.
still learning.
Yeah, lifelong learners over here, right? Lifelong learners. I
Right.
don't think the lessons are not done until you leave this planet, but then they're still not done when you leave the planet. There's still more
That
lessons to
part.
learn.
That's what I can't, they're really not. And that's what even stress that. I'm like, okay, well, we're always going to be growing and evolving. So quit. Like, there's so many excuses a lot of us make, right? And we're so guilty of it. But they'll say, well, when I heal, I'm like, well, we're healing. You're healing now. Like, don't hold yourself back. Like, and there's so many that now, right? Oh, well, ride the wave, right? Because it had to come out. See there, guys, ride the wave.
Wow.
And it literally is the two dolphins, right? It is.
Mm,
It's ride the wave. Oh my gosh.
aw,
It literally just popped out. And I'm not kidding.
aw. I love that.
Right, right. The
I love that.
dolphin
That's
energy,
awesome.
healing our ties to the money frequencies. I mean, what a way to even bring that out, because that's water, right? And how God, that's so powerful.
You have to
Dolphin
ride the
energy.
wave of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sweet. Oh my gosh, can
And
you
it's
even
funny,
see
your
it?
background looks like a wave almost, Raven.
I know. Crazy, right?
Kinda
It
like you're
really is.
underwater kind of, but then I think it also looks like outer space. It's really cool.
Look at it, right? It is. Look, it's got the vortexes and the stargates and things.
Some
But
pretty
it
cool.
really is like literally ride the wave. Ride the wave of your own frequency. And the water sprites have got you, because it's literally got a water fairy just literally riding the top of the freaking dolphin up here. It's like, oh my gosh. It's
Oh,
like, okay. Like,
I
in
love
the
that.
number 14, that's all new beginnings, right? Oh my gosh, it's the number 4 too. Man, these things have really been coming out a lot lately, because the number
Glad
1 is all about new beginnings, standing in your truth, right? Being your own authentic individual self. But also too, number 4 is Cancer in the houses of astrology, and that's about your security, your home, and what makes you feel secure, nurturing your home, making it safe, and literally trusting your own instincts, literally.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting that you pulled that card in relation to money because money is security for a lot of people too, right? Like, that's a big part
Mhm.
of what it represents. So it's really tied to your root chakra quite a bit, right? Because your root chakra is your stability here on planet Earth and money systems. It's interesting. I haven't channeled too much information about the way that money works on other planets, but I know that it is on other planets, and it doesn't exist in all dimensions. Like there are some dimensions where the frequency is too high, you don't need money, you don't need
Mhm.
resources, but we are, I think, as we know, planet Earth is going through an ascension process right now, right? So we're currently in the third dimension. We're going to make our way up to the fifth dimension. So the way it's talked about a lot is like third dimension. Where we are right now is like old Earth. And then we're moving into, new Earth, which is also referred to as like 5D consciousness a lot of the time. And so one of my things that I'm curious about to see is how does money shift as we move into a higher dimension? Will it look exactly the same that it looks like now on planet Earth, right? The answer to that question is I don't think it will. I think it's going to shift quite a bit. I don't know exactly how, but now I'm getting the idea that I should channel some on this. What I've read is that it will go to like there's a possibility it's going to go to more like bartering, right? So it's not going to
Yes.
be as mathematical, but it's based more off of like bartering, like I have this, you need this, let's trade, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think it'll be interesting. And I think what will be interesting to see the transition of we have some complex financial systems on earth, do we not? Like, I mean, think about all these different, like the stock market, right? And the way our economy works and the way the values of things and different ratios and all this kind of stuff too. And so thinking about going into a new earth, like how does all of that adjust to a higher frequency when we remove some of these other frequencies that are attached
Right.
to the
Well,
frequency of
that's well, we also have it. Well, we also have assistants, and we're not alone here, and they're helping us
Mhm.
adjust. That's another
Yeah.
thing, and I'm so glad that you even brought this up about, the three dimensional concept about money, because me too. I have also wondered because I've known the concept of money in the 50. It's totally different. It's just totally different. Like you said, it's going back to bartering and things like it used to be back in the days of Lemuria and Atlantis, basically, right?
Yeah. So I think it will be really cool to see how that transition right happens. And I think, we're kind of in this weird transition space. And I'm thinking about this because I actually recorded a YouTube video
Mhm.
today about this and about the transition into 5D consciousness. So I hope that I will probably get that edited and put up at some point next week. But I've been thinking a lot about this today and just how things are going to shift and like what the timeline is for that, right? Because we're kind of stay in this shifting period for like the next like 50 to 70 years. And then that's when we're going to see actually like the beginning of truly of new earth, right? Because right now it doesn't even feel
Mhm.
like we're beginning new earth. It feels like we're still in the third dimension and we're going through the shift right now. We're going through the rough part. We're going through the part that's not always
Exactly.
so fun, but also can be fun. And I don't know if you have ever gotten any information from your soul or just like a knowing about this, Raven, but I definitely felt like my
Mhm.
soul wanted to be here during this shift and during this time because it wanted
Mhm.
to know what it felt like to come in, everything to be like this one reality that's a very like well-crafted reality that we're told what's real, what's right, what's around us, what's logical, right? And everything else is just like the truth is kept from us and it's just like imagination and pretend. But then you start to come out of it and you start to awaken and you realize these things. And for me, I definitely strongly feel that, my soul wanted to have that experience. And that's why I'm here during this time because, in 100 years, you're not really going to be able to have that experience on planet Earth anymore because it's going to be
Mhm.
higher dimensional, it's going to be higher vibrational, and we're just more truths are going to be known. And it's interesting also because I channeled some information about the spring equinox. And
Awesome.
Raven, you're not gonna believe this because like what they were showing me is that like during the spring equinox, it's like stuff is gonna just be known. Like, and it's gonna
Yep.
be known what has really happened and what has been covered up, right? Like, and we're gonna
Exactly.
know like this is what we were told and this is what was really happening. And we're gonna have like a collective, and I don't know how big of a scale this will be, but there's going to
Mhm.
definitely be like a groups of people that are understanding like, oh, like I get it, like they told us this and this was the reality, but it's not because they didn't want us to see what's really going on. Definitely feels like it's gonna be something a little bit otherworldly too. Like, I don't know if it'll be like stuff about ETs or it'll be more stuff about what's happening like socially or like what's going on the planet, but it does feel like this spring equinox, some revelations are going to start to happen to us as groups of people.
Oh, wow. Well, you just confirmed some things. You just
Okay.
confirmed. You just confirmed some things because I I've been feeling the same thing too. And you're wow. The reason why I say this is because of animals and things and birds and things that have showed up that also has confirmed that, right? Like the red-tailed hawks have just been prominent 3 times this week, literally, and just soaring above the situation, see it from a Hawkeye's point of view, but it's also about spiritual awareness and it's also about ascension. And they are the messenger. That's a messenger from the gods. And when it has been coming to me, I just really, really, really feel very, very strongly like that. It's Athena. It's like Athena.
Mm. Wow.
Right? I just feel her. I feel her strongly. Like, remember the wisdom, it's all inside of you. Like, that's just, and she's just really making that prominent. And she's been screeching a lot. So it's like, wow, when she comes, she's just been making herself very, very known, like a lot, numerous times a day, where I have to go outside because she's just screeching, like, okay. And then when she does, and she'll perch and look at you telepathically, I thank her, and then she soars on where she needs to go. But that's what I'm feeling, and it is it's for the collective, right? And not to mention, here we have the armadillo spirit, right? And it literally is saying set your healthy boundaries, and it's the number 3. And this number 3, I don't know, but for me, for Raven, it's really come up a lot. The number 3, number 7s, and the 5s and the 11s. But I'm also going to say this because this literally happened over the weekend, right? Okay. I have a friend that I just met not too long ago, really, on TikTok. Okay. And I was in her live coasting through, just showing some support and love. And she had asked me a question, and it does involve money. So here we go. And this is how it happened. So this is what I'm going to say. Okay, so she said, okay, Raven, I'm going to go to the casino. I'm thinking about going to the casino tonight, me and my husband, but I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm a little scared. Should I go? I got an automatically yes. Like, I got so much download on that, and my chills was just, whoa. I felt it so strongly. I told her to play 777s because I told her, you got to play trip sevens. Play trip sevens. She goes, for real, Raven? Okay. Okay, a few hours later, after her and her husband went to the casino, she literally played she said, okay, man, I was feeling it. So I went over there and I was sitting there at the 777s and I played it. I got $400. I cashed out. She goes, okay. And then I went over there, I feeling another one. So I did it. She cashed out. She won $2,100 that night.
Woo!
Just by asking Raven, should I go to the casino? So she tagged me in it and put it in the script and said, okay, Raven, what else is coming up for me? But I just started laughing because she'd also asked me previously, days before that, if she should leave a job because of her boss. And I got a very strong yes, and she did it. Okay. So I'm just saying, when you get this hunch.
Yeah, it's your intuition, right?
This is purely intuition. It truly is truly intuition. And I literally predominantly seen 7s. I just seen 777s. You know how we do when we're channeling, and I kept seeing it. 777. She's got to play the 777. And because I said, you're gonna land it, you're gonna win something. And she did. So yes, see? So if you feeling it, like you feeling, oh, also too, just got asked, Raven, should I buy a lottery ticket? I just got asked that just 2 days ago when I was on live on TikTok again. Yes, go. My pendulum said yes. Go for it. Go for it. You could ask your own self that. Ask the universe to send you a sign, and it'll be between you and the universe. And like I said, the universe is your sugar daddy or your sugar mama. Because. It's the truth, because the universe there is no right or wrong with the universe. It just is. And it's universal law, and it's universal justice, and it's our birthright. We're free will and we're sovereign, and we are worthy. In this concept of you're not good enough or I'm not worthy enough or any of those things we already have before we were even conceived in here into this physical incarnation.
Yeah, and I think that story you shared is such a good point, Raven, of like, okay, so like gambling is something that can have a very low frequency,
Yes.
right? It can have a
Yeah.
very low frequency. Like people can get addicted to gambling, they can lose all their money on gambling, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? It can
Mm-mm.
also be fun. You can go and, like a lot of times when I've gone to a casino, I put a limit on how much money I'm gonna spend. If I spend it and I lose it all, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a healthy boundary with it. But, like, in this case, she went, she listened to her intuition, which was to ask you, and then you
Mm-hmm.
you listened to your intuition, which was like, "Yes, you should go, and yes, you should play
Mm-hmm.
this game," and you were
Mm-hmm.
channeling too, right? Because
Oh,
you know
yeah,
where
oh,
to
yeah.
find your
Woo,
channel.
it was so strong. Oh my
So
God, I was
intuition
vibrating with the
plus
energy. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's like, it's like a casino, even though it can have a low frequency, and you walk into casinos and it depends. Like some of them have a really
yeah.
low frequency, and you go in there
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, wow, I can feel it. It's not good. But then some casinos you go in there and it has a better frequency, even though if there's some of that energy still there.
Mhm,
But it's like she
mhm.
went in there and it's kind of like money being neutral. Like she was just neutral about it. And she went in like, hey, like I wasn't sure. My friend said I should go, and then she went and hey, that's universe delivered, right? Universe delivered through a means that
Yeah.
sometimes is not a good can be not a good thing for a lot of people, can be a very negative polarity, low frequency. So
Mhm.
it just goes to kind of show that, even if it's something that, and I think society sometimes like looks down upon like casinos and gambling and all that kind of stuff. Like sometimes that is the way you make money, right? We know there are careers that people kind of look down upon that are very lucrative, right? And they're able to, like people who are like dancers, for example, like some of those people are able to make huge investments and really set themselves up financially through doing that type of work when they're, in their younger years, and so I feel like you can't let like shame or attachments or things like that affect your relationship with money too, because if you go into a career like that or you go to gamble like that unattached to those things, like sometimes making money that way can support you, and even for the rest of your life or help you invest and things like that. So I think society's expectations around money are another big thing too. And what's a good job and what's a bad job, right? And this job pays more, so it's seen as better or more credentialed or what have you. So I think there's a lot of things there too that a lot of people are struggling with, and we have to remember, right, that the more neutral we become to that stuff and the more we don't find our value on our job title or what we do or how much money we make from it, and we just do it because we know we're meant to do it or we find it as the opportunity that can give us what we want. And that can even be like, I want to make this much money so I can do this much things, or I want to have flexibility in my schedule, or I want to have certain things. If you find that job and you say like, hey, this gives me what I want to do, even though other people may say, well, that's not a good job, or that's not what smart people do, or that's what like bad people do, something like that. Like if you're like unattached to what others think about it, then you can use that money to do great things for yourself. So I think it's another big piece of it too.
I do too. Like you, well, it is. It's a concept, and it's all this labeling things, right? And it's so the labeling, and people are so judgmental. Like, oh, look what they don't have, or oh, look what they have, or things like that. And it's like, really, man? I mean, to me, that's so petty to me. And there's just so many other important things to
Yeah.
spend my energy on. I'm just saying for me. But yes, you can literally tell when you walk into casinos because I have many of them where I live. Like it's this native country here, so there's a lot of native casinos everywhere here. So yeah, but
Yep.
you can tell which ones are like they have the Hard Rock is very much here. The Hard Rock and also to Margaritaville with oh my gosh. That's a big, huge one here right now. River Spirit, yes, the River Spirit Casino. But they have all kinds from here to all the way to the other state lines. They're just everywhere. Like it's like okay. So
I know.
yeah, right.
when I drive through Oklahoma, which I've driven through Oklahoma a
Mhm,
bunch in the
mhm.
past few months, because I always go to, Arkansas to see family there, but there
Yeah.
are a ton of casinos. Choctaw
Yes.
is, like,
Yep.
a big one that I
Yep.
always see, and, like, they also have good food there, like, at the gas stations and really
I
small casinos,
know.
so I always end up going to those on the road to, like,
I
stop
know.
and stuff.
Me too. And it's so much fun. You can even go in there and play bingo sometimes. And I even do that sometimes. I've done that with my friends. Like we just did a day trip or road trips or little road trips, right? And it's
Yeah.
just been so much fun. Like I've taken off. Took off and I've drove to freaking Louisiana. Went all the way to Louisiana and went all the way down to Tennessee and then just come back. And it was just to go down there, have some fun, hit the casinos. She was all into her comps and things, and then just go visit her daughter and her grandchildren. And we stayed the night there, and then we came back, did it again, and then we came home. But it was fun.
It was
It was
fun.
fun. And did I win that much? No. But the experience of and I did not lose. I broke even. So,
Okay, there
but I
we go.
also I go in there just to do with that attitude. Like what I have right here, that's it. I'm not,
Yeah.
right? And then I get up. I don't get greedy with it. Like, oh man, I'm just heck no, man. Once that thing, I'm like, cash that, I'm out. Like I'm out. I don't play around with that. No.
I know. That's how I am too in the casinos, and I feel like I don't think I've ever, like, won big in a casino, but I think it's because I kinda am just, like I go in, I'm very, like, risk averse, and so
Yeah.
I feel like I have some of that energy that might have, like, kept me from blocking from me from, like,
Yeah.
winning big or,
Yeah.
even winning like, your friend, like, winning, like, a couple
Yeah.
$1,000, like,
Yeah.
that's still, like, winning big, I'm not talking you have to be like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, I won $500,000."
Right. 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 Yeah.
Nothing, nothing like that, but, I also think that, like, casinos are fun too, right? Like,
Mhm.
they're just fun to go and hang out, and, like, when you go to, like, Vegas, like, I feel like you can just like,
Yeah.
there's so much in there too, it's not just
Yeah.
the casino, but I think it's just, like, not you can be around things that have a lower frequency and not let yourself attach to that frequency, right? And
Oh,
that's important with
absolutely.
'cause there's a lot of frequencies attached to money, and you have to look internally, at your relationship to money and really assess, like, what is my relationship to money? How do I feel about it?
Mhm.
What are some of the things, the viewpoints I have on money, or what are some of the things I can't do with money or I wish I could do with money? And when me and Raven do our workshop, we're gonna be talking about
Mhm.
a lot of that, like, personal reflection, and everyone's gonna have a chance to personally reflect on that and really understand, like, what is my relationship to money and why is it that way? Is it whether it's parents or family upbringing or like lessons from your soul brought in, from your past lifetimes, like really diving into that and just understanding your attachments to money and then knowing like you don't have to keep those attachments. You can work through those and move through those and form new attachments to money.
That part, right? And the thing of it is, right? I know you said that. That's funny. The thing of what I'm doing that's because they're telling me practice non-attachment. It's like take on that Aquarian vibe about practicing the non-attachment part of it. And I know that's easier said than done because I'm practicing. Like, okay, know that whatever frequency that's coming in that makes you like, whoa, because as soon as we might even think about a stressful how money can make us feel that way, because it can in some situations, very much so, it could be very overwhelming where also it literally goes right into your gut, does it not? And it makes you just feel like you've been hit in your stomach. Like the pit of your stomach will be hit sometimes, and you can feel nauseous. Your nervous system can be out of whack. You're losing sleep. It can really put people in a very deep, deep, dark depression too. And that's why me and Judith, there's so many reasons why for our own selves though, but also too because we've been there, we've done it, and we are going through it as well. But also to help and be there and help assist people to help get out of this money crunch and have fundamentals and tools to be able to use them and apply them to bring you more harmony and abundance and have harmony and abundance in perfect alignment with whatever that works for you and your family unit.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to look the same for everyone,
No,
right? I
no.
don't and I think that's like in the past, you get these people who are very strong about like their methods with spending money and making money and like just system, and it has to be the same system for everyone, but it doesn't really have to be that way, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, it's the same, like, whenever you get married to someone and you can decide, like, "Okay, how do we wanna run the household? Like, who wants to be in charge of what?" Right? Like, you don't
Mhm.
have to like, when it comes to money and your money systems, like, you can do it so many different ways and different things, the way you wanna earn money, right? The way you wanna save money, how you wanna save it. It's like some people wanna earn money, they want stability, and so they want something with an income they're gonna get paid every 2 weeks this amount, and it's set. Whereas, like, some people prefer to work on commission, right? Or to work part-time,
Right.
and maybe they have multiple jobs, but they don't have
Mhm.
that 9 to 5, and some of them are, based off, like, performance and things like that, you know? And then some people like to invest, like, in really, like, diversified like funds that are stable and you just kind of put them in, or like CDs are like normally really stable, right?
Yeah.
So you just kind of put them in. But then, some people like to ethically invest, right? So it's like you go
Mhm.
and you get like a fund that just has stocks that really care about like the environment or something like that, right? And so you can figure out what's important and what matters to you. And I think that a lot of the financial experts that I've listened to in the past, like 5, 6 years or so, I think we've shifted. And a lot of these people are like the younger
Exactly.
people who are like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, as
Mhm.
opposed to like some of the more, the earlier generation of
Yes.
finance experts.
Yes.
But it's more about like, and I can't, it's his name, Sethi Ramsey. I can't remember what his name is, Sethi
Mhm.
something. Um,
Something like that, but I know who you're talking about. Yes.
yeah, because he
Mhm.
was really
Mhm.
good. He was like, "How do you have a rich life?" Right? And like that doesn't necessarily
Yes.
mean you're rich. You
That
know?
part, yeah, and see, even that is a misconception because
Yeah.
some people defy rich as different in different ways, right?
Nope.
That's even changed so much, and not downing my generation at all, but I'm just saying this younger generation, they know how to work even smarter. They already have in their house. They've already buying they're just doing so many things because their concepts of money has changed. They're like, okay, I'm not going to do what my parents do. There's some ways I can do this without having to struggle so much. And I've literally watched them. It's like, oh my gosh, I've learned from them. And how are you doing that? And where should I apply this at? Like, there's always, and don't be scared to ask the questions, and don't feel that you're not
Definitely.
smart enough to even be asking those questions, because it is changing so much, and currency is just it can go in so many boundless, unlimited ways. It's just the matter of it and using your conception of it, though. But that's how it is. It's the alchemy, practicing the art of money through alchemy, right? But when you combine it with your spirituality, to me, that just brings more of abundance, and you're just bringing more of your flow. And as far as you being wealthy and rich, I already know that I am, and it doesn't have anything to really do with money. Money does help. Absolutely. Absolutely. Helps in so many ways. But I already know that I am, just from being here in this timeline and experiencing the life lessons that I'm experiencing. Yes, do I regret? Nope, because I wouldn't be here where I am today and to be doing this live and sharing this topic as I am with Judith right now. And that's all with universal flow, and it literally was spirit. And that's the truth. It really has been, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I think you bring a good point up about the different generations too, because
Yes.
I think these younger generations they're the first breakdown of the system, right? Because the system, told people here on earth for so long that it's like you have to earn money a certain way and you have to work this, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then these are the things you want. You want a family, you want time with your vacation, but your career is important. And, how you define yourself as part of your career in this 9 to 5 job. And it's important to show up and work hard, and like that's just what everyone does, you know? And so that was a system here on earth for a long time, and it's a system that, you know, the people who put in place, like they were able to do what they wanted to do, right? And keep us all in a box and keep us under their control. But
Mhm.
now the younger generation, like a little bit, I mean,
Mhm.
millennials, like, we're kind of the first to kind of break off from that, but really even the people the Gen Z, they're
Yeah.
a lot of them really were starting to do this stuff, like, in high school with, like, social media and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it's
Mhm.
like, you know, a lot of people aren't doing that anymore. They're finding other ways, you know, to have a business, right? Or to work where you're not part of that system. And when we break away from that system, eventually the system will collapse. And that's when with New Earth, a new system comes in, right? So I think the souls that are here are intentionally here, whether they came in, you know, at a certain year where they're like baby boomers, or I don't silent generation. I think there's a generation between baby boomers, silent, and they wanted to either clear karma or experience being in that system and what it felt like your relationship to money feels like in that system. Whereas like the a lot of the younger kids today, they're star seeds, right? So they may not have been on earth a
Exactly.
ton of times, and they're coming in with the knowledge of how money and finances work at a higher dimension, and they're coming in to lay that foundation, you know? So I think it's just part of a shift. But like one thing you really said that resonated with me, Raven, is that like your soul wanted to learn how to come in this system, and then to see
Mhm.
the system break and learn how to like, oh,
Yes.
well, I don't have to. It's the rebel part of you, right? Like I don't have to be part of the system. I can do my own thing and make money doing something else. And so that's the experience your soul wanted to have. And that's one of, I mean, not the only reason you chose your
No.
incarnation year, your birth year, right? But it's like
Yeah.
it's something that contributed, you know, to it. And so I think that's a cool experience to see you talking about, you know, and it's like, and me, I'm that way too, because, you know, like I came in and I came into the
Mhm.
corporate and I was like, oh, I've got to get this degree and this
Yeah.
certification that is going to make lots of money, and that's the way to make a lot of money. And you know, it's like
Mhm.
now I'm like figuring out like, well, can I make money other than that? You know? So it's like it's journeys, right? We pick our time that we're born
Yes.
and what we want to learn and bring based off our personal journey. But then also now the star seeds, they're coming to help too, right? And we're both here to help, obviously, even though we're not, you know,
Yeah.
baby being born today, and we're both star
Right.
seeds. But I think
Exactly.
it's interesting to see the different generations and how that affects the relationship to money, which affects the relationship to like working career, all that kind of stuff too.
I think it's awesome because I think they're just pure geniuses because this is what I see, right? They're pure geniuses because I mean, I got chills because they are the future, right? And they're already like building they're already their own business owner. They're already built on TikTok shop. They're already their own little entrepreneurs, and they got more money than their own parents got right now at this times. And that's the truth. It's because they're like, hey man, I have this technology. What can I do to do it? What can I do to use it? And they literally come up with all these creative ideas and they apply it and they make it happen because kids, they just roll with it like that. They just do. And it's just beautiful thing to watch it, to witness. And it's like, wow, okay. Okay. Also, too, for the opportunities that they have now. And I'm going to use TikTok as, or even YouTube for that matter, and Instagram, whatever platform you decide to use. But it's also for these stay-at-home mothers that never thought that they could, they want to take care of their family, but they also feel left out. Like they also want to contribute to, the funds for the family. And this is a way that they are doing it. They literally can raise their own family and be at home, work it around their family and their schedule, and also making their own TikTok shop and their own content and things and making money just doing that. There's so many things that it's changed. And these are tools at our fingertips. And it's just how we use it to create it in our minds to apply them and to use them things instead of complaining like we don't have it. It's like, yeah, we do. Like, there's more than enough for everybody. This is the concept that the external world, the outside institutions and thing, that's Saturn that wants to restrict us or think that we need this outside authority to tell us what we should do or where we should be or how we should go or where we should talk. Not me. I came in here as a child knowing like, nah, I'm a system buster, and I don't agree with any of these things because it just don't resonate with me. Because I could see the glitches. I could see, well, wow, what's real here? What's not? This so many things are illusions, and people don't even know that they're even illusions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you just got to have you just
Yeah, that's a
your
good
own
point.
discernment, right? Your own discernment. That's how I'm going to say it because it's just different for everybody, and everybody has their own discernment, and whatever resonates with them is what resonates with them. So yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking about as you were kind of talking, especially with like the younger generation and kids, being able to have more ability, I think, and resources to make money at
Yeah.
a younger age. There's a few stories like when I guess I was in high school, I think, a couple of boys in my class, like they went to Sam's, I think, and got those
Mhm.
big mega packs of candy that are sold like in bulk. So they're
Yes.
like a lower per charge, and then they would sell them to people in
Yep.
class, but it's like maybe lower than the vending machine. And so they made money that way. So I feel like it's like they're always like, if you can
Yep.
see the opportunity, right? You can see the
Mhm.
opportunity of something to make money. I feel like it's interesting that some people kind of naturally gravitate towards that.
Mhm.
Um, but then I also had an experience at Six Flags where I was going there with like a church group, I think, and it was like 5 kids maybe and then like 2 adults. And there was a couple boys that were hanging out kinda on their own, and they ended up, like, blowing all one of them ended up blowing all his money that his parents had given him. He bought way too many snacks, way too many whatever. I don't even
Mhm.
know what he was spending all his money on, but he had won a one of those really large, like, stuffed animals that you get
Yeah.
at the theme parks, and
Mhm.
he ended up what did he do? No, he, like, bartered I think he, like, had bought a snack and he, like, exchanged it for money, sold it to money for someone else, and he kept doing this, like, 2 or 3 times until he finally had this, like, really big stuffed animal, and he sold it for, like, 20 or 30 bucks or something like that, and he ended up, like, making more money, making his money back, like, just
That's
through, like,
funny.
selling these different things at the theme park, and then it was like he hadn't run out of all the money his parents had given him. So, it was just interesting to me that it's like he was out, but he was like, "What do I have
Mhm.
that I can turn back into money?" So, it was kinda like
Exactly.
he used it. He used
Pure
what he had.
genius. That's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
know,
little,
that's what like
right?
incredible.
And it's incredible, not to mention the things that they invent. Like they're gonna be in, yeah, I already know they're doing this, like free energy things, cars that run on
Mhm.
water instead of electric. That's already been done before. You can look all that. If people don't believe me, you can look that up. But I'd look it up on DuckDuckGo, not Google so much because they shadow ban a lot on there. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying there's so many things, and it's like all these inventive and all these things and technology. Let me tell you something. They are so techie savvy that they think it, they just achieve it and they make it happen. Like I just watch them manifest it just like you do, just like you have for that, even that example. It's like, okay, like for instance, like you said that they did the candy thing. Like there's kids that I know that's literally done things like that, went to Costco's or Sam's and just bought these huge pallets of water. And on summertime, just sit out there in parks and things and have a water cooler, and just sit out on the street and just sell bottles of water. Kids do that, and that's how they make their money in the summer. And more than lemonade stands. I remember when I did the lemonade stand, garage sales, right? At every garage sale I go to, you have the little girls or the little boys out there with their Girl Scout cookies and they're have their little lemonade stands and they're freaking banking on that stuff. I'm not kidding. It's like, how can I really do this? And I'm like, wow. And I contribute to that because I'm like, they're really already starting their little executive business type minds and they're expanding it, and that's like Jupiter literally watching Jupiter literally expansion in front of your own eyes.
Mhm. I love
It's
that.
beautiful, right?
I
It's
love
just,
that.
it's
Yeah.
just wonderful. It's wonderful to see. And I'm just, I'm excited. I'm excited for where it all is going to take us because it's a whole new wave. Just like these dolphins said, ride the wave, baby.
I know the dolphins got us. They really told us, they're like, ride the wave. So
Yeah, ride that wave.
yeah, don't let your money wounds keep you from riding the wave of money. I think it's important because I think for so long, so many people stay trapped in cycles regarding money, but I think that it's important to remember that it is neutral and you can flow with it, right? You have to flow with it and not in opposition to it, right? Out of your own wounds, whether it's fear, greed, whatever it may be.
That part, right? Just the concepts about it all. And me and Judith just want to have, we want to share how we feel about it, but also too that it's okay and that nobody's alone out here. Because I do know that it's really, really some rough times for so many out there right now, and they just don't know where, how, when, or what, right? But as long as they know that they're not alone and they have me and you that can reach out to, and everything that all of our information literally is underneath this description, mine and Judith's. Instagram, shoot us out a DM also too, but both of our calendars are down there in the description as well. And also too, just look out because we're really going to be doing this money energetics workshop is literally going to be rolling out very, very soon as we speak in the next couple of weeks, quite honestly. So be looking for the lookout for that. And also too, the 21st, me and Jamie London Wahlberg will be doing a live at 2 o'clock Central Standard Time with Reiki channeling watercoloring, which I'm very looking forward to that with the Sacred Siblings that literally is scrolling across my screen right now. You can go to wakein.com and look up in the section. It'll say Sacred Siblings and all the information for that will be right there. Is there anything else that you would like what you got going on, Judith, for our audience?
Yeah. So for me, what I'm kind of working on, I'm going to have some new YouTube content up. So definitely check out my YouTube channel. It's at Judith Hope. And so I've been channeling a lot of stuff, like I mentioned about 5D consciousness, but also I'm going to be talking a lot about like the Akashic records, past lives, the galactic portal chamber that I work in. So definitely if that kind of stuff interests you, please check it out just because I feel like learning and getting that information out there is just so, so important. And then if any of you out there are entrepreneurs, I want to let you know that I have an Akashic business audit and I'm actually expanding my business consulting services to really start helping entrepreneurs. And doing it through not only just like professional business consulting, looking at the business, the process, the controls, giving that type of advice, but also through quantum healing as well, right? Because for many of us that are entrepreneurs, our business is very attached to ourselves too. So our business, we have to heal ourselves to be able to elevate our business. And so I know I'm hoping that Raven will come on and we'll do an Akashic business audit with her. But if any of you are interested, please feel free. Just you can book if you know, like I want to get an Akashic business audit. I want that kind of hands-on advice from the Akashic records, my spirit team, my star family. Please just feel free. It's on my calendar. Book one directly, or if you have any questions, you can book a discovery call with me as well, and we can chat through what the audit entails. I can learn more about your business. So I would love to learn more about that because I feel like our spiritual entrepreneurs are so important, right? We're here doing work to help with the ascension of New Earth, and we also need all the support, and guidance that we can get. So that's what I have going on right now. But yeah, it's been awesome to talk about money. I feel like there's so much to talk about with it. So I'm so glad. I feel like we covered so many different things today. It was crazy.
We did, but like you said, it is, there's so many concepts about it, and there's so many exploratory avenues that you can go through to even to get you to where you need to go, literally, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and most definitely financially, right? And that is so exciting, and I love that. I love it because because I am going to be doing one with Judith, so be looking out for that. Literally, I'm going to be putting her YouTube channel literally in the description below, so you guys can subscribe to her YouTube channel as well. And also, yeah, just with diving into the audit and the galactic chamber with that, I just know that it's very, very powerful, and it literally does open and widen doors that you could even possibly imagine, because you're literally breaking into the quantum fields at that point, like you're like, having that deep hypnosis therapy and things like that, and really diving into the subconscious and knowing where those strengths and weaknesses are even more when you dive into that, and just having an audit to go through it and be able to itemize it all. That's what's so freaking extraordinary. It's just awesome. It really is. And I just love the concept, and not too many are even, I don't even know anybody that's doing this but you, quite honestly. So put your trademark on there, because it's very vital.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Very much so. Yes. And also too, just be looking out for we're gonna be doing more lives on other different things too as well, because we're just automatically galactic channels, and there's so many other star races that we want to dive into, interstellar beings and things, but also extra dimensional parallel universes too as well. So yeah, a lot of exciting things.
Totally. Yes. Yes. So much coming up. And yeah, I just feel like I just really feel like this spring equinox is gonna be I think there's gonna be a lot of things happening coming to light. So I definitely feel like we'll also have to provide some more thoughts and channel messages on that coming into the spring, coming out of a crazy winter, all kinds of stuff was
Yeah,
happening. And I think that it is going to continue to be a lot happening in the spring. Now, I don't want to scare anyone or say that's a negative thing. I just feel like there's going to be a lot of just a lot of stuff happening, and so we'll be here to kind of talk about it, and also look at things from a positive perspective too, right? Because no matter how bad things get, we can always look at things from a positive perspective. So that's what we'll be here to do.
that part. And that isn't to scare anybody, because we're going to stay neutral on it all, right? And we're going to be here together to support if anybody even has any questions, because it is going to be, right, just like Mother Guy said, it's going to be a little wakey shaky, baby. And this is how she said, you're going to buckle up just a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit of some cosmic turbulence. And that's just really the truth. There ain't no sugarcoating it. Raven doesn't gatekeep, and I really know that Judith doesn't as well. But yes, there's also always positive things to look at it. You just stay neutral, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. So I'm looking forward to all the excitement and the good things that are going to come as well. No matter that we know that, negative polarity stuff may come in, well, the positive polarity stuff is going to come in too. So I'm excited to see what the spring brings. I'm excited for so much. And yeah, I just can't wait to see how the rest of 2025 turns out, because I know we did our what our star seed should expect in 2025, and I was thinking about this the other day. I remember it was like, it's gonna be like this. And I kind of feel
Right?
like it has been like that. Like, it's been like, what happened? Whoa, what? Oh, then this happened. Like, I feel like it has been
Really.
that energy so far.
It
So
really has. It really, well, it come in like heavy and hot, right? Like, look at all the things that happen with the planes. Just so many things happen: fires,
yeah,
planes, fog, like
that was crazy.
a lot of things, winds, fires. There's a lot of things going on right now as I'm speaking.
I know.
Literally. And it's like, okay, well, are we going to, the election? There's been so many things. It's like, are we even going to be able to come up for air? Because every time we turn around, it's something else. So yes, and there's going to be a lot more. So really, with the spring, it's very, very exciting, because of new beginnings, new territories, new people, new places, new things. a lot. I am going to say this too before we do close with this equinox too, but there's also going to be a lot of past people, places, and things that are really going to try to come back
Oh,
due to these retrogrades and things. Like I said, though, use your own discernment, because if you learn from them and already know that it's not, then no, that's just a test to to see if you've learned from it and grew from it instead of repeating the same cycles.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah, retrograde seasons are always interesting. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But they're needed. They're needed. So
Absolutely.
they keep us back, they put us back on track. So
Thank goddess. Thank goddess, right? I'm like, I'm grateful for retrogrades, most definitely. Absolutely. So with that, everybody, we're going to close for now, but look for us in the upcoming workshop announcement on our IG and TikTok. All of my information literally is in my bio on my YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to have an interview and be a guest on my podcast and share your story. And it is for entrepreneurs, or also to just the spiritual unicorns of the beautiful individual souls that's literally out here in Mother Gaia. You have anything else you'd like to close with, Judith?
I think you said it perfectly, Raven. Thank you so much for having me on, and such a pleasure to talk about all this. And yeah, I hope that everyone listening got some good tidbits of information from this. And if you guys have any questions or want to reach out, like I said, all my information is below. So happy to chat with you, with any of you. And I just remember this popped in. I do financial attunements as well. So if any of you are interested in that, that link is on my Calendly. But basically what it does is it raises you up to the frequency of money, right? So it kind of pulls out a lot of your current and past life blocks, the trauma that you have, and it attunes you so that your frequency matches the frequency of money. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it does take immediate effect. So I always recommend, if that's something you hear me talking about it and you feel called to it, or you're like, hey, I'm more interested in that, either, like I said, just go ahead, like with the audit, book the link directly below, or just book a discovery call with me. You can ask me more questions, learn more about it. So there's two different options. But yeah, that's the only thing I had. Thank you, Raven.
You're so welcome. Also, too, I have a Central Intelligence workshop that's literally going to be rolling out in April and May with the lovely Lady Lotus. I need to bring that up as well. So if you really want to dive in some juicy stuff and have a little bit more essential intelligence where we don't have to be codependency or trauma bonding, and things, and just really dive into our womb space. And it's for men and women and from all different types of relationships, but it's going to be more juicy and things. So be on the lookout for that, because we'll be announcing that as well. And also, too, if you would like to tap in more into your synastry chart and your astrology chart for your business, your entrepreneurship, your career, your finances, your relationships, or your co-partners or whoever, feel free to reach out to me. And you can literally click on my link too as well, because I have a link for that. And also, too, just a coffee meet and greet just to be with Raven. And we could literally go from there too as well.
Yeah.
So, right? You guys, what is today? Today, like I said, is Transformational Tuesday. And also, too, it is Mars Day. So it was about action. And it's great because action makes the money. And you got to apply that action. So with that, everybody, I'm going to close for now. And namaste and love-a-stay, everyone. And bye-bye for now.